Today, I'm excited because this is a topic that I hold near and dear to me because not long ago, I was also applying to a PhD program as a mom of two littles. I have a 6 and 8 year old, and navigating the application process and going to school as a parent had its challenges. And so today's episode is about navigating the law school application process as a parent. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Nadia Castriota. I am the Director of Law Student Success and one of the admissions advisors here with Barrier Breakers. And like I mentioned before, I'm excited to talk to you guys today a little bit about a personal journey, right? As I was applying to a PhD program a couple years ago, and attending professional school, but talking to you specifically about navigating the law school application process as a parent. There's so many things, right, to consider as you go through this process as a parent. Just a little backstory about me. I was a non-traditional student. I like to say seasoned. I am about to tell you guys my age. I am knocking on 50, and I have two littles, a 6 and 8 year old. And I started my PhD program in the fall of 2020. They were much younger at the time. And, just to kind of give you some insight, I started this program before I got pregnant with my daughter, which was in 2015. I started the program, but then shortly realized that life happens. And once I had my daughter, I had to stop the program. And every time I said I wanted to go back, something else happened. And then finally in 2020, decided that it was time for me to go back and finish this professional degree and finish my PhD program. It had its ups and downs. It had the days where I cried. It had the days where I wanted to fling this laptop out the window. But then it also had the days where my daughter or my son would come and sit in my lap and be like, "Hey, mommy, what are you doing?" And I told them I'm doing homework, just like they're doing homework, right? And they got to see the journey through my eyes. I got to see the journey through their eyes. And there were so many other things to consider. But I just want to say all of that to let you know that you can do this, right? I know that not every journey is the same. And I know that sometimes we have to put off things, but when the timing is right, you will know, and you can do this. So let's talk about the things that you should consider as you think about this process, or if you're already in the process and in the journey, let's think about some things, right? What does the law school application process consist of, right? Just by itself, without even considering the fact that you might have littles or teenagers or preteens or older kids that you need to tend to, a family, loved one, right? All of those things matter, right? So let's think about the process. The process has many steps and can be a little overwhelming and a little bit frustrating and challenging and stressful, all those things. But at the end of the day, keep reminding yourself, one, to give yourself grace, and two, that this is an investment in me, right? This is an investment in me, and that's very important as well. So the application journey, has where you're researching your schools and you're contacting schools and you're asking questions, and then you're trying to figure out how many pieces of the application is required, right? So selecting the schools, and then application deadlines, and then application materials and financial aid, prepping for the LSAT and taking the LSAT, all those things, right? And I know as I'm throwing these things out, you're like, oh my goodness, she's stressing me out by even saying these things right now. But, you know, those are things to consider. And as a parent, we have to organize, right? We have to prioritize, we have to balance, work life balance, all these things, right? We have to make sure that we make time for the family, and we have to make time for the things that need to happen at home, and then we got to make time for the things that happen at work, and then we got to make time for us, and then all the other things that we want to do in life. As I start to throw these things out, the first thing, as you can tell, is really preparation and decision making, right? You're prepping, you're researching this thing that you want to do, that obviously you have a passion for, and that it's something you want to do. So you're researching this thing and you're trying to figure out how to prep for it. What are all the steps that I need to take in this application process, and how am I going to do it, and how is it going to fit into my schedule, my daily schedule, my professional schedule, my personal schedule? And then once you have that, the decision making part, right? So, what are the things that I need to consider? How is this going to affect my life? How is it going to affect my children's life? How is it going to affect my family? And these are things that even in the application process that we have to consider. We haven't even gotten to being admitted to school and those things yet, right? This is just walking through the beginning of the process. So ask yourself, why do I want to take this journey, and why now, right? Remember I said I knew there was things I wanted to do from a very long time, and even though life might have pushed pause, I was able to say, but I still want to finish this, and I will pick it up and I will complete it. And I did. But why are you doing this at this stage in your life, right? Is it because it's time for a second career? Is it because time has allowed you to? Is it because life is giving you the opportunity to dive into your passion? And those are all great things. We also want to consider, what type of financial support are you going to have? Or what type of financial support do you need? Law school is expensive, right? And so when I mentioned prepping before, those are things that you also want to consider. When you're looking at law schools, find out about scholarship, find out about budgets, find out about cost of attendance. Does the budget change because you have littles? Does the budget change because you have a family? Those are things that you want to reach out to your director of financial aid or your director of student financial services, so that you can ask all these questions, right? And be transparent, because that's how you're able to prepare as you look to the future. Coming straight from college into law school is a different thing, right? But coming off of a job, maybe when you have to give up your full-time job, or now you're going to have to go down to working to part-time hours, or finding something else while you go to law school while still trying to support a family. Those are all things that you want to consider, but also make sure that you are very honest about what your financials will look like, so that when you have these conversations, you can prepare and know exactly what you're getting into once law school starts. And once you have this information, you'll able to budget and plan ahead, right? And that is key, especially when you're providing for a family. You want to make sure that the things that you need to do are not interrupted, especially when you're dealing with family and littles and your children. You want to make sure that the life that you have or the life that they had is not interrupted, and that you still have the financial support as you move through the journey, right? So budgeting and preparing way before we drop our deposit and get into law school is so important. The other thing in terms of decision making is, once you're in law school and the purpose behind law school and you become a lawyer, an attorney, what are your goals? Does your family fit into this? And will they affect the decisions you make as you start prepping for career opportunities? I did a segment earlier today on being a seasoned law student and graduating, and what employment would look like. And it means that you come with a wealth of knowledge and experiences that some firms and employers are looking for, right? They're looking for people that have a diverse background of experience. Same thing, you bring a certain set of skills that people are looking for. So, how does that play into the career goal decision making? The second part that I want to get into is balancing responsibilities, right? So everyone has a schedule in my house, right? I had my schedule, my kids had their schedule, my daughter had dance, and we had to figure out how we were going to do all these things while I had classes and I had homework and I definitely had writing and presentations and all these other things that I needed to do. And so, how do we balance our responsibilities, right? So, even before you get to law school, going through the application process is definitely preparing you for the additional responsibilities that you will have as a law student. And I'm not comparing it at all because going to law school is going to be very different. But as you can see, there's several steps, right, into the application process, and you're already trying to balance the responsibilities. So time management is so important. And as you get into law school, there are people there who can help you. Academic support will help you with time management as well. It's a whole new world, right? When you get into law school, you're going to be thinking different. You're going to write different. You're going to do all these things, briefing memos and learning new things. And so, again, you also have the responsibilities at home. And how do you balance those, right? To make sure that no one is suffering, that the family still gets what they need, that you still get what you need, and that the school and your law school dreams are still fulfilled. So that leads me to the next thing, which is, what does your support look like? With all these responsibilities that you have, what does your support look like? Are you doing it on your own? And if you are doing it on your own, what do you need from the people at your law school to help you through this journey? And if you have support from your friends and your family, those are conversations that you want to have very early, letting them know that you are thinking about law school or that you're applying to law school, and how you're going to need them to kind of fill in some gaps or to help you along the way. And that could be just as much as grabbing coffee with your best friend because mama needs an outlet or daddy needs an outlet. You need a minute or a break to reset or refresh. I'm not going to lie, my guilty pleasure was Target. When I needed a reset from writing or school, I decided I need to walk around Target for like 20 to 30 minutes. That was my thing. I can just release and be in my own space and not think about work, not think about anything. And we need that. That is a mental break, right? I tell my clients and I tell my students right now that if you are capped out, you're working on E, it's going to come through when you're trying to LSAT prep, when you're trying to put applications together, when you're trying to draft essays, it definitely shines through. So, again, be honest with yourself about what you need. And if you need to push pause just for a little bit, it's okay. Because not only will you feel it in your work, but your family's going to feel it. Your kiddos might feel it, right? When you're stressed out, overwhelmed, you might be a little short. And so just recognize that as you're starting to balance and then ask for help. I mean, look, I understand I'm first generation. I had to do a lot of things on my own. It's hard for me to ask for help, but I realized that during the journey, I definitely had to lean on my family, because there were some days where kiddos had to get to bed at a certain time, but mama had to write and I had to get things done. And I had to stay up late and sacrifice some time, but that was okay because I knew I had those people that I had those conversations with early in the journey to let them know that I had to lean in every once in a while. And that's okay. Having that support is a blessing. And if you have it, please have those conversations and let them know. The other thing in planning ahead and balancing is, what is your day-to-day life going to look like now? So yes, we're moving through application process, but we're also thinking about, if you are going back to school, what is that going to look like? And maybe having a conversation with the kids, right? At any age, just letting them know that you as a parent is going to be going back to school and having additional things to do. And sometimes you can incorporate them in that and there, have fun. Some of my clients out there have met my kids. My littles come into the camera while we're on Zoom and say hello. My daughter will even, she's even to the point right now where she asks some of my students, what law school are you going to? Because I've included them into the journey, and that's okay. But then there's also a time where we need to say, hey, I got to close the door. I got stuff I got to get done. But what does your day to day look like? Come up with a schedule sometimes. I have days where I'm like, these are the days I was doing homework, or these are the days I have late nights with my students and the office door is closed and I have to go into work, and that's okay. And they understand that. So have these conversations again with your support, whoever that is. Have the conversations with your family, have the conversations with your kids. They're going to be so excited to see you go through the journey. And, think about what a typical day would look like as a law student, as a parent that is a law student, right? So what does that mean from start to finish? What time do you get up in the morning? What needs to be done in the morning before you get everybody out the door? How long is your commute going to be? Who do you drop off first in the mornings? Then do you grab coffee and lunch and you bring your food to campus or not? Do you pick something up while you're there? Do you have study groups you want to meet with? Do you have faculty meetings? Do you have mentorships or mentors that you want to meet with on campus? Is that before class or after class? And then the classes that you go through, the times that you choose for classes, does that interfere with drop off or pick up for the littles or your kids or anyone in your family that you have responsibility to? Does your classes, when scheduling your classes, do you have enough time? Do you need aftercare or not? What does your day-to-day look like? And then what happens after? Do you come home? There's bath time, there's dinner time, there's homework. Then do we put the kids down? And then after that, do you have time to sit by yourself and read and prepare for tomorrow? What does your bedtime need to be in order to get up and feel like you've rested the next day? So what is your day-to-day going to look like? And lastly is your well-being and success strategies, right? We want you to be successful. If you choose to go down this path and take this journey, ultimately, we do these podcasts because we want to offer support and information because we want to see you successful. I want to see you successful. And I know that you can do this, right? These are for the parents that's listening right now. I know you can do this. We are strong. We are resilient. We have energy inside of us that we didn't even know we have, right? Just to get through all the things that are thrown to us on a day-to-day basis. And so I know that if this is something you want to do, you're going to do it and you're going to be successful at it. But along the way, we have to learn to take care of ourselves. And most times as parents, we tend to put our needs at the bottom of the list, right? We're so used to taking care of everyone else that we do not take care of us. And so, yeah, I got a little serious there, as you can tell, because I need to take my own advice, right? It happens where I'm running, ripping and running all day long. And then at the end of the day, I am exhausted and there's still 10 million things that need to be done. But then I remember that I got this and I can do this, but I got to take care of me too, right? Because I always say that if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of everybody else. And so I got to remind myself, though, every once in a while, I do have to remind myself. So your well-being, your wellness, your mental health is so important. And so what does that mean? What are your coping mechanisms for stress? I mentioned Target, and I know it sounds funny, but like I said, that is my thing. It just helps me release and reset, and I feel good when I'm done. I grab a coffee and I'm good. I come back, I come home and I do all the things that need to be done. But what are the things for you? Is it positive affirmation? Is it working out? Is it hanging out with people in your bubble? Is it loving on your babies? What are the things that you need to release stress, right? Think about that as you move into this journey because you're going to need those things. And the importance of self-care and finding balance. Oh my goodness, right? Self-care, right? I joke sometimes with my friends because I tell them I'm so tired. I don't know what to choose. Is it food? Is it bath? Is it sleep? What it is? Like, I'm joking when I say that, but sometimes you run through, I'm like, I could take a nap or I could go make a meal. Which one am I going with, right? Self-care is very important, but that goes back to having a day-to-day schedule that you make sure you make time for you and finding balance, right? Every time I meet with my students, I know we got work to do. We have lots of work to do, but I always ask them, what's the updates? What's going on with them? How are they doing? Tell me about the work-life balance. I want to know, right? Because I want to know how you're doing. I want to know that if we need to push pause because something is not happening or something is not right, then that's what we need to do because I need you to take care of you. And as you move through this journey, there's going to be ups and downs and all types of things happening. But just remember that when challenges come, how are you going to get through it? First take a deep breath, you breathe through it. What are the challenges? What do you need to get through these issues? Who can you talk to about the issues, whether it's at home or whether it's at school? Try to take things step by step to figure out how to get through what's the resolution and how we're going to take care of the conflict. And I always say this in all of my podcasts, right? That we don't know what we don't know. So it's always good to ask questions. And even as a parent, even as a seasoned person, I still ask a lot of questions, but I also do a lot of research because I know there are people that's going through the same things as me. Just like you applying to law school as a parent, there are others out there. And so research to find out if there are networks of people, groups of people that you can be a part of and ask your questions and have a community for support where you can put out questions or concerns, right? I had several dissertation groups. I had several mommy groups. I had several parent groups that I belonged to. As I was going through my journey, I had people in my office that I could talk to. I had professors that I was able to connect with, just even if it wasn't to talk about schoolwork, but just to let them know that here are some things that I'm feeling and I'm going through. Make sure that you have a network that you can tap into. There are so many resources out there for parents right now. And so again, I encourage you to research and find out, what other communities are out there for you to become a part of, or even if it's to stay in the background and just feel some type of comfort knowing that you're not the only person going through this. I know that we were talking about applying to law school, and then as you move through the journey becoming a law student, it starts with the application process, right? But think about big picture, because this is going to be something that will affect your life, right? Temporarily, law school is 3 to 4 years. And then the end result, which is a huge blessing and such a huge reward for you, right? You and your family will be able to celebrate that together. And so just remember that. I always say it that sometimes the bigger sacrifices or the sacrifices that we make now mean bigger blessings in the end. And I say, give yourself grace, know that you can do this. Remind yourself that we are, as parents, we're resilient and we can get through these things, because that's our superpower, right? We know that we make it through the days, all the ups and all the downs, and at the end of the day, everything is all good. And tomorrow is a new day that we get to start over fresh. And so we can do this. I know you can do this. And so I hope that I was able to give you some encouraging words and some helpful hints and lots of support through this podcast today. It is something that's personal to me, right? As I shared some of my personal journey, as I was navigating waters through a professional degree as well. And I hope that I was able, like I said, just to give you a few things that you can take along with you in this journey. So, again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Thank you so much for listening to Barrier Breakers on a whole. We hope that our episodes are helpful for you throughout this journey. And if you like today's episode, please share with your community. Like I said, there are other parents out there that probably need to hear these words. So please share that with your friends. And again, just tune in and let us know if you have any follow-up questions or if there are things that you'd like us to talk about on our mini episodes or on our podcast. We would love to make sure that we are providing you with information that's helpful to you, because we are here for you. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you very soon. Take care, friends.